Thank you very much, Rufus Idris. Your Excellencies here present, members of the organizing committee, members of the diplomatic corps, captains of industry, hello?
Please go ahead.
Okay. Can I have the presentation on? Okay, all protocols duly observed. Thank you very much to the various speakers, and I'm very delighted to be part of this Diaspora Investment Summit, which we have seen from the various speakers that this event is not only an important event for Nigeria, but it also coincides with a very difficult time where capital inflow into the country is strongly challenged, and therefore diaspora investment becomes one of the very important sources of capital investment. Next slide, please. Just as it has been mentioned by previous speakers, Nigeria, by its strategic position, geographical position, and combination of warm tropical climate, abundant fertile land, adequate rainfall, and ample water resources, both ground and surface water, as traversed by two major rivers, Niger and Benue, makes it an ideal location for commercial agriculture. Currently, agriculture accounts for 25% of the GDP, employing over 50% of the population. In its renewed drive, the federal government is currently focusing on various value chains, as mentioned by the Vice President, including rice, wheat, cassava, vegetables, oil, seeds, but to mention a few. The strong emphasis on support to this value chain came through various programs like the CBN Anchor Borrowers Program, Universal Guarantee Schemes, NALDA, the BOA, BOI, and several other initiatives from the federal government. Next slide, please. Now, just to look at a brief SWOT analysis of the Nigerian agricultural investment sector. Now, on the strength, this has already been mentioned by several speakers, the readily available and competitive labor, abundant and fertile lands all over the country, ready to be exploited, ample water resources, strong government support with emphasis on agriculture. Now, on the weaknesses, high cost of capital still remains a very big challenge, looking at the fact that most of the commercial banks either invest very little in agriculture or the cost of interest is significantly high. Then we have the security challenges, especially in the northern part of the country. Then the weak infrastructure, more especially the road infrastructure, lack of railway infrastructure, which could have provided very cheap transportation for agricultural goods. Opportunities include import substitution. As just mentioned by Rufus, we still import significant amount of food, even though this food import bill has decreased over the last 3 to 5 years. Export potential, we still have a lot of potential to export and earn foreign revenue from the production, processing, and export of both food crop and cash crops. Threats, still threats, we have cheap imports from other countries, notably Brazil, India, New Zealand, and other countries. We also have trade barriers which prevent us from accessing foreign markets. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, now, last slide, please, go back, okay. Now, the biggest question to all of us is, can we produce as globally competitive market if we are talking about export or even talking about what we consume internally? Can we produce sugar at a cheaper cost than Brazil? Can we produce beef cheaper than Argentina, lamb cheaper than New Zealand? The fact is that we are competing with more efficient producers globally. What are the missing link and how can we leverage and change this scenario? Number one is technology, which was mentioned by the Vice President already. Number two is cheap capital. How do we access cheap capital so as to complement what government is already doing? Then the next question is, what is our value proposition? Next slide, please. As mentioned by Rufus again, in terms of remittances, the average remittances we are looking at between 23 to 25 billion dollars. This is a significant inflow of capital, even more than overseas development assistance ODA, and also in some cases surpassing FDI. Next slide, please. So PwC projected that by the year 2023, we are going to have at least $35 billion of diaspora in remittance. Now, this is a significant increase, and the focus should be how do we channel or how do we tap into these remittances to channel them to profitable investment that will be beneficial to both the country as well as to the diaspora. Now, if we go to the next slide, we will see that as already mentioned by one of the speakers, about 70% of this remittance currently goes to consumption, while 30% or less is available for investment. But with focused and more targeted investment instruments, this 30% or so can be greatly increased. So for example, instead of a diaspora to keep the money in a foreign bank or invest back in the foreign country, if there is a secure platform which is providing a lot of incentives and also providing an avenue that is secure and reliable, then there is a great possibility to greatly increase this investment. Next slide. Now, what is the winning proposition for the agricultural sector? Some of these already have been mentioned by the VP and the NIPC representative. Up to about 50 million hectares of fertile land available for production. In Nigeria, currently land can be leased for a period of 99 years. Immense opportunities in the livestock sector, including beef, dairy production, poultry, and fisheries. Subsidy on critical inputs like fertilizer, seedlings, and pesticide. Tax relief for different periods depending on what type of investment it is. Zero import duties on agricultural machinery and equipment. Exemption from tax and loans granted on agricultural activities. Exemption from VAT. Access to credit guarantee of up to 75%. Avoidance of double taxation, and so on and so forth. So there are so many opportunities that can be leveraged on. All that is required is for all of this to be consolidated in such a way that the right information is provided to the diasporan investor so as to be able to incentivize the investment. Next, please. Way forward, just like it was mentioned by Honorable Abike, that the Nigerian Diaspora Fund has been launched a year back. I think, in my opinion, having a platform specifically dedicated to agriculture, for example, let's say a $5 billion investment fund dedicated for agriculture. The reason being that agriculture is the highest job creator. It's the only sector that you can employ 1 million people tomorrow if you want. All you need to do is to provide the right investment proposal to aggregate not only the primary production, but also midstream and the upstream. So in terms of setting of special agricultural zones with off-takers, and also providing all the necessary amenities like power, water, and all security and so on. so as to be able to reduce significantly the cost of production. Next slide. So I have come to the end of the presentation. I'm looking forward to receiving comments, contributions, and questions later in the event. Thank you very much, Luis, and thank you, the organizers.